I'm Liza, and today we're going to make, Flappy Bird. So first let's pick our character, which you can do by tapping the gray plus button next to play. We're going to pick Bird, but you can pick whoever you want. If you don't see Bird, she might be hiding behind the video, so you can tap hide on your video to get the video box out of the way. Now, Bird's going to have 3 rules. The first is that when you don't tap the iPad, she'll fall down. The second is that when you tap your iPad, she'll flap up. And the third is that when she bumps into the pipes, she'll disappear and the game will end. So first let's make the following rule. Add a new rule and pick when the play button is tapped. The first thing we're going to do is create an ability. Abilities group blocks of code together so you can reuse them elsewhere. You have to give them a name though. So to make our first ability, tap the gray plus button next to My Abilities. And let's name it Fall. Great, so now drag it out into the editor and tap on the pencil if it's not already open. So we want Bird to fall all the time. And to do that, we need to go to the blue Control Flow tab and find Repeat Forever. Drag that out. Then drag it inside of the Fall ability. Perfect. And to fall, we need to use a Change Y by block, which moves things up or down. So go to the red Movement menu and pull out a Change Y by block and drag it inside of the Repeat Forever. Now, if all we did is put a single number here, Bird would move up and down at a constant speed, and it really wouldn't look good or feel like Flappy Bird at all. What we want to do instead is for her to fall faster and faster as she's going, unless she's jumping. And the way we do that is by changing the speed of her fall as she's going down. So to put a number in your code that you can change later, we're going to use values. So next to calculator, you'll see values. Tap that. And we're going to create a new value, which is at the bottom. Let's call this Bird Up Down. So this value is going to be the change in Bird's height. And what that means is that if it were 5, Bird would move up a little. If it were -20, she would move down a lot. And if it were 0, she would stay exactly where she was. So let's drag Bird Up Down into that Change Y by block. Then press check. So in order to make Bird actually fall faster and faster as she's falling, we need to make this value a bigger negative number every time this Repeat Forever loop runs. So go to the yellow Values tab and tap on Increase Value. Drag it out under the Change Y by block, but inside of the Repeat Forever block. And in the first bubble, drag out Bird Up Down, and then in the second, type in -4. So now, at first, Bird is going to fall 0 the first time the code runs. Then she's going to fall -4, then -8, and then -12, because every time the code runs, we're subtracting 4. And this is going to make it look like she's falling faster and faster before she splats onto the ground. And this is exactly what it looks like when in Flappy Bird, when the bird is falling towards the ground. And it's what we look like when we fall. So this looks a lot more realistic than if she were just falling at a constant speed. Okay, sweet. Let's check it out. Cool. Well, you are officially Einstein because you just made your first physics engine. A physics engine is a common set of rules that the objects in your game will follow to make your game look more like real life. Go back to Edit by tapping your rule, and we're going to make this bird's speed a little bit faster. Okay, so go to the red Movement tab and find Set Speed. Drag that out above Repeat Forever, but inside of that Fall ability. And let's set it to 1,000. So we're going to be ballers. And finally, let's get her to turn a little bit as she's going. So there in the Movement tab, drag out a turn by and stick it under your Increase Value block, but again, inside of that Repeat Forever. And we're going to turn her by -1 degrees. Cool. Let's check that out. Perfect. She's like a little dizzy and maybe hitting some brushes as she's falling. That's perfect. So go back to Edit. So exit outside of this rule by tapping anywhere that's not the editor. And we're going to add our second rule. And in this second rule, when we tap the iPad, the bird is going to flap. So add a new rule. For your when, pick when the iPad is tapped. And again, we're going to make an ability because that makes this much easier. So let's name this ability Flap. Great, so drag that out And if it's not open, press the pencil to open it. And whatever we put here will happen when we tap the iPad. And we want bird to jump, right? So remember that value bird up down? All we have to do is change that. So go to the yellow values tab and find set value. Drag it out inside of your ability. And then pick bird up down for the first bubble. And then tap that second bubble and change it to 20. So the reason we're doing this is because if you remember our first rule, bird is just constantly falling. She's just falling towards the ground so fast. So what this flap ability is going to do is tell your program that every time you tap the iPad, you're going to override that and reset bird's speed to 20 going up. So let's check that out. Tap, there we go. She's up and up. But the thing is, she's still turning and now she's kind of going upside down, which is probably not an ideal way for her to be flying. So we're going to add one more block. So go back into Edit. Okay, so go into your red movement menu and then drag out a set angle block and put it below the value block but inside of the flap ability. And we're going to set it to 0 so she's standing upright. Oh, I think bird is going to be a lot less nauseous this time. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is start on our third rule, which is adding the obstacle. So we all know in Flappy Bird, bird is flying along and some terrifying pipes come her way, and your job is to keep her floating through them. Okay, so let's add a new character to add in our pipes. So go to your objects with the gray plus button, and then pull out a text object. You can call it pipes. And then we're going to add a new rule to this. And we want the pipes to come immediately when the game starts, so you can choose when the play button is tapped. So go to the Looks and Sounds menu and then find Set Text and drag that out. And in order to make this text object look like pipes, we're going to go to emojis. So go over to the left to the little keyboard icon and then delete that new text and go into your emojis, which are the smiley face or globe next to the spacebar. So if you're here and you don't have emojis, don't worry, you can get them. Just go to your iPad settings and enable the emoji keyboard. Okay, cool. So now everyone has emojis. We should be in that set text keyboard. So go all the way to the right to where the buttons are. And there's going to be a column of green buttons. And we're going to choose one of those with the green with the white X. So tap one in, tap 3 more. So now we have a row of 4. And then tap the spacebar 5 times. If a period shows up, just go back and delete it and make sure we have all 5 spaces. And then tap in 4 more green squares, and then press done. Okay, so let's press play and see what it looks like. Well, I think this game is going to be pretty easy because bird is like 100 times bigger than the pipes, so we're going to make them a little bit bigger. So go into Edit. So from your Looks and Sound menu, pull out a set size block and set it to 350. And then the next thing we want to do is, if you remember, another reason that those pipes looked kind of useless for our game is because they're lying flat, parallel to the bottom of the screen. And we want to make them stand up straight so that bird can actually go weaving through them. So go to the red movement menu and pull out a set angle block, and we're going to set it to 90 degrees, which is exactly perpendicular to the bottom of the screen. Sweet. Let's see what that looks like. Perfect. So now let's get the pipes to start on the right and move across the screen to the left. Take a look now at the finished game and think about all of the steps the pipes are taking to look like this. What does it do first? Where does it start? Then what does it do next? See if you can apply these steps to writing the actual code. Try writing them down on a piece of paper and then think about how you'll translate them into hopscotch code. This process, by the way, is called reverse engineering, which sounds really fancy, but all it means is working backwards from the finished product in order to figure out the solution. So let's go back to our editor and actually start writing this hopscotch code. So for our pipes, we're going to go next to the red movement tab, where you might be already, and then we're going to pull out a set position block. And for the X value, let's think about it. We want the pipes to start at the very right of the screen, which is X equals 1,000. And for their height, which is Y, we may not know exactly where we want them to start because that's what makes the game really fun. So instead, we're going to pick random. Perfect. And then for the first bubble, tap in 200. And then for the second value, and you have to tap the little bubble to get there, we're going to type in 600. Great. So now we want to make sure that the pipes actually move left across the screen. And the way we do that is with the red change X by block. So drag that out below and type in -1000. And again, negative numbers in the X value move left. Finally, we don't want the pipes to just do this once, but we're going to do a little trick that makes it look like we have a bunch of pipes moving across the screen. So we're going to use the same pipes and have them repeatedly do the same right to left motion. So in order to do that, we're going to use a repeat forever block, which is blue. So go down to the bottom and drag out repeat forever, and then really carefully drag everything else inside of it in the exact order you had it written. Cool, let's check that out. So this is really cool, but there's a problem, which is the bird is actually going through the pipes regardless of whether she's going through the opening or not. So we need to fix that. The trick to do this is to make it look like bird disappears when she hits the pipes. So can you pause here and try doing that? Sweet. Okay, we're going to do it together. So go back to bird by tapping anywhere outside of that rule. Tap on bird, and then we're going to give her a new rule. And tap on more if you don't see all of the whens. We're going to use the bumps when. So the two things that are going to bump into each other are the bird. So tap that for the first bubble, and then tap the second bubble and pick pipes. So now we have a rule for when bird bumps the pipes, but with nothing in it. And what we want to happen here is that when bird bumps the pipes, she should turn invisible. So go down to looks and sounds, and then drag out that set invisibility block, and we're going to set it to 100 or completely invisible. So let's play that now. Oh, barely made it. Wow, we're really good at this game. Oh, well, we lost, and now you can kind of tell that we lost, but there really isn't anything reminding us of that except for we have no more bird. So one really easy way to do that is to add a score. So drag out a new text object and put it in the top left corner of the screen. Okay, and let's call this score. And we want it to immediately start tracking score. So tap on add a new rule, and then when the play button is tapped. So go down to looks and sounds and drag out a set text block. And what we're going to do is display the score as you're playing. So here, in set text, instead of tapping the keyboard, tap values. And here, let's add a new value by tapping the plus new value button, and let's call it score. And then drag score into the set text bubble. Press check. So the way this is set right now is we only show the score once, and if it changes, nothing will change in our score keeper. So we're going to drag out a repeat forever loop, which you can find under control flow. So drag it out and then drag the set value block inside of it. Now this object will always show the most updated score. So now for the score to actually mean anything though, we need to change it depending on what happens with bird. So tap out of that rule. We're going to add a new rule to score. We're going to go to that bumps when again. So when the pipes bump the edge of the screen, our score will increase. So for the first bubble, tap pipes, and then in the second, tap that bubble and tap edge of screen, and then check. Okay, so then go down to the yellow values menu and drag out an increase value block, and pick score for the first bubble, tap the second, and perfect, keep it at 1. So let's see if that works. Oh, there we go, we're winning. Oops. Well, that kind of works because the score goes up when the pipes hit the edge of the screen, but we lost and our score is still going up. So go to edit. Okay, so now we only want the score to increase if we can still see bird. So go to the blue control flow menu and drag out a check once if block. And so the way we're going to do this is check once if bird's invisibility equals 0. So tap that equals at the top, and in the first bubble, we're going to tap values and then scroll over to bird's invisibility as a %, and then tap the second bubble and equals 0. and then drag the increase value block inside of that check once if. So this means that if bird is totally visible, then our score will go up. But if bird is invisible because we just lost, our score won't go up. Let's try it out though. Oh, amazing. So our score is 1, our score is 2. 3, we're killing it. Oh, 4, we're in the Olympics, but we just lost, and now the score is not going up anymore. So that was pretty sick to me. And if this is too hard, you can go into the pipes rules and slow their speed down. A red set speed block from movement, drag it to the very top, put it above the repeat forever, and you can set it to 300. And all objects in hopscotch, by the way, are set to 400 at the beginning, so we're slowing it down to 300. Let's try this. This is a little bit easier. I think we're going to rack up a really high score. Oh, 2. Well, not every time. So that's the gist of Flappy Bird. Now you can add a cool background, change Bird out for a different character using set text, show a friend, and see if they can beat your high score. Have fun.